And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Tech Talk. I am your host, Matt Presti. My guest today is Eduard Gheorghe from Romania. Uh, he is who I refer to as a black pill avatar, and we're going to have a chat about the end of the world. But he's got some interesting views, and I always like to personally engage in conversation with people of different backgrounds. I've listened to a lot of conversations. I've talked to a lot of people about all kinds of things. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, buy me a beer. Click on that link there with your camera, your QR code reader. Send some love, bro, sis, whoever you are, because I work on donations currently. The universe has been good to me, so that's my way of giving back. I may put this all behind a firewall at some point, but for the time being, you can donate through Cash App or buy me a beer at that link, QR code. You can also support the stream by visiting and purchasing some music from my site. I also have this QR code, which is for my music thumb drive, which is over 140 songs. My whole writing career, I've written over 400 musical pieces, but you can find a lot of them here, and these are all 320 kilobyte per second MP3s. All right, so with that, let's bring on Eduard. Eduard, how you doing,
Hello,
brother?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, early
Uh,
morning. I do have to
for
say we
you
did.
though,
Yeah, man. We did this 2 days ago, but we had such a terrible echo in the recording that it was imperative that we had to do this again. But it's a really great conversation. I've got a few notes made up from that conversation, but basically we're gonna just kind of follow a little bit of the same blueprint, let it flow naturally and such. But why don't you, for the audience, just give a little bit of background about yourself?
well, I'm from Romania, like you said, from Bucharest. So I've kind of lived here all my life, with a few years going in between here and the countryside, where I actually got to see the sky without light pollution and stuff like that, and actually uh, was able to see the Milky Way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Nowadays, that's not a possibility, unfortunately. Even if you go to places where supposedly there's no light pollution, there's chemtrail pollution. So uh,
That's pretty much
I've
everywhere.
been I've been involved with computer science, music, painting. Uh, I'm a bit of a free spirit to say. So, also with mushroom growing, which is one of my favorite things of all time.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
Well, we'll have to share. Do you have any photos of those that you can share
of
at some point?
the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Oh, that
Okay.
will. Uh,
Well, you can always hit the
I
share
will send
screen.
them.
Maybe we'll touch on that in a little while.
Uh, I'll give me a moment to find my stuff because
Mm-hmm.
I like how some nasty shit happened to my life last year, and I'm trying to bounce back.
Gotcha. Well, we certainly had a great conversation. Unfortunately, as the cards fall, sometimes not everything good can be captured, but we'll try to recapture some of those points, and I'm sure we
Yeah.
will. Um, just to start off, you uh, you and I talked about the spread of communism, especially around World War II and such. You want to just give a brief description of what Romania was like prior to World War II and then after?
So I've sent you a link to the Telegram channel. If you're going, you load it and scroll up, and let it
Okay,
load the stuff, and then you'll see the mushrooms and stuff like that.
gotcha. Okay.
Uh, so after World War One, Romania actually, for the first time in its history, got reunited. What I want to say by that is, in this territory that is now Romania and not exclusively to, there was a very large percentage of the population that was speaking the same language, with a few differences of words from here and there, but it was mostly the same language. And mm, cards fell off kind of in our favor, not because we did some great achieving great military strategic operation or stuff like that. They just wanted to dismantle the Hungarian, Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and uh, they gave Transylvania to what was Romania, but in a smaller version than what it is now, because it had the ability to kind of defend it if the Hungarians and Austrians wanted it back. So things from there kind of started to develop in a good way. A lot of people migrated to the city side. The population boom after the war. Foreign investments came into Romania because they found the oil fields, which are, I think, the only ones in Europe. Plus,
Hmm.
Romania has like a huge chunk of the European mountain chains, which is less mined than the Alps, like the Romans, Italians, Austrian. They've kind of drained out all the important stuff for the time they lived in, like gold, silver, bronze, copper, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So there was this influx of money and brain, and things were looking good. We were under a monarchy back then, the
Hmm.
Habsburgs, which not the great, but at least they had their own interest, and because they had their own interest, they had the national interest at heart. Because
Sure.
you can't have a monarchy without a powerful nation, right? You can have
Right.
a strong house if everything is chaos. But then World War II happened, and we lost some territory, but we lost our freedom, which was worse because the Bolsheviks, which probably you know who they actually are,
Hmm.
they are Russian citizens, but they're not Russians. Never thought as thought themselves as Russians, like
Hmm.
they have American citizenship, but they're not really American. They have other nation interest at heart,
Right.
and the way they do stuff is basically they kill all the opposition. They land grab everything. They mass everyone into these big cities because they want to control the food. And I know there is a lot of people that talk all these kind of strategies and psyops. And but listen, if you control someone's food, you control their life, and it's
Hmm.
as simple as that. And that's why they stole the Ukrainians, which, by the way, I didn't told you last time, but in Ukraine, what is today Ukraine, there were millions of Romanians living there. They're not anymore. Someone took care of them, right?
Right.
So, so that's what these people do. They come, they infiltrate a nation, then they use that nation to promote their sick ideals
Hmm.
and start war with other nations. They murder, steal, and devoid everything of anything.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's no doubt that communism is a force that we're all going to have to deal with. Obviously in America we have open borders. There's 10 to 12,000 illegals a day crossing the border. That's no accident. As you know, the Kalergi plan and other plans of Europe, uh,
Yeah.
the browning of the white race, and so on and so forth.
Do you, but
There's a little young lady that gave a speech recently. It was a CPAC speech, but she hit the nail on the head, and she's gotten millions of views. And obviously, YouTube uh, shit canned her account over it. But there certainly is a push for people to wake up to this. And what are your now? The reason I had you on too is because I want to hear the black pill point of view of the world, because I think it's, for me, an important thing to consider, because a lot of people don't have hope and they don't see any hope for the future. So why don't you give a little background as to how did you become, in the sense, a black pill avatar?
man, so when I was 16, I've told you last time, I was in at the crossroad in my life because grew up religious, so it was pretty instilled in me. But I realized that that was not me. That was something that it was passed on me. I was made in this way.
Hmm.
So I was ready to become an atheist, pretty much. But let's say I gave God a chance to say something about it, um, and in my mind, I realized that there is no way to come to uh, to the truth by logic, because there's thousands and thousands of people that sought the answer of is God real or not, and they always land on one side or the other of the argument. And I'm talking only about the honest people, not the thousand and thousand more that are just copy pasting shit.
Hmm.
So in my mind, I just quieted out for a moment, and I've asked if you're real, if you're the one that they talk, that you're the almighty, all powerful, all knowing, and all that shit. You're real. Just well, show me, like prove it to me. Show me a falling star. I wanted to see one because I've told you I grew up seeing the Milky Way, but I never got to see, funny enough, a falling star. So I actually wanted to see one because I would see on TV and shit like that. So
Hmm.
I've not even finished that thought, and it was a strong urge in me to actually open my eyes earlier than I was wanted initially, right? And there it was. So if that was a coincidence or not, it kind of shaped me. And
So a falling star did indeed appear.
yeah,
Okay.
and a bit later, 9/11 happened, and it raised many many questions to me and to many many other people. It was like the wake up call for our generation, I guess. And then I've learned that it was not an accident, it was not an act of war, it was a psyop. I've learned about who did it. I understand what the political reasons were, but until I discovered their whole agenda and all that stuff, and I could see that month by month, year by year, they would gain ground, and they would have absolutely no opposition. And when opposition started to appear, they would just crush it. And people at large, they didn't even give shit, and that was really really troubling. And kind of there I kind of lost hope, but not for for humanity or for a distant future. I've kind of lost hope for the current civilization and the present time.
Mm. Okay. Well, I posted some stuff in the chat room on Telegram, and I'm going to run your Telegram channel real quick here, so people want to look into your work, they can find
Thank
you,
you.
and you've got some stuff up on Telegram there, and we'll also share your AI website, but that'll be coming up. So we were kind of, talking about different things, and sometimes you'll comment, and it's a very black pilled sort of comment. So I kind of hit you back. I'm like, well, what do you do if there's no hope in the world? Are you just planning to die? What is the best way to die? But then it seemed to me that it would be actually a good time to get you on and let's get an opinion from somebody who actually has these thoughts. But I'm going to go back up to that conversation. So, what is it that you study that eventually led you to conclude that? I mean, obviously, you mentioned the 9/11, the plan, the international communist agenda, the New World Order, the global government. You talk a lot too about deep underground military bases and underground tunnel systems and the elite. You know, obviously, they built seed banks and things in the Antarctic to. I guess you're a catastrophist as well. You're studying
Yeah,
catastrophism. And have you ever read any Immanuel Velikovsky, Worlds in Collision, for instance?
no,
Well, as a catastrophist, I absolutely highly recommend that book. The man's work is stellar. He's sort of like a Russell. He was pushed to the side by academia because he challenged the status quo. But basically, the Thunderbolts science guys base a lot of their electric universe theory on his work because he was also an electric universe theorist, which is interesting, an interesting aside. But so getting into that, what I wanted to go over in questions wise was, and hopefully they're still here. I have the 3 day kill switch on the, yeah, there it is. You wrote in response to maybe World War III will just weed out the chaff, was a comment by my friend
yeah,
Mark. You wrote World War III will be made to prevent many survivors after the flip. So you're talking about a pole shift. If you go and read Ken White, World in Peril, you will find out that Pentagon knows this planet flips 90 degrees approximately every 10 to 20,000 years. They knew this from the late 40s and 50s. I'd say the exact interval is 12,700 years or so, half the cycle of the Great Year. Their entire true politics is made around this inescapable fact. That is why they gave Soviets nuclear to fabricate a scenario where they can siphon resources to build underground cities for the select few. As we will march forward, they will test all cyber biotech on civilians as this is the perfect playground. A dying world with billions of souls. When they emerge, they will have all the bioengineering stuff to create a world of slaves ready to serve them. This one is already doomed. I'd say that's pretty black pilled. Do you want to expound on that a little bit? How you came to those
um,
conclusions?
well, I always had this question of I'm interested in technology, and I'm kind of passionate about low tech, because low tech it's kind of the you have to be, people don't realize, but to make simple things you actually have to be extremely smart, because you have to observe the principles and to apply them with minimum tooling, and you really have to understand them to actually be able to do so. And I've noticed that, like, our current civilization mostly gets its tech from the last 300 years, although some principles were found quite a while ago. But it was mostly the effort of a population from anywhere from 500 million to a billion people, which is probably a critical mass for human, for our type of humans to actually start to build a proper civilization, not be like monkeys on the field. So, understanding this, that it takes about 300 years and humans have been here for hundreds of thousands of years, or at least that's what we're told to officially. Who knows how long have we actually been here, but things don't add up, because in this hundreds of years period there was definitely some periods of a few thousand years where it was quiet on earth, and decent conditions for human beings to develop in large numbers. So it's always kind of this. We, they try to tell us that, oh, progress happens slowly, and we had the Bronze Age for like tens of thousands of years, and then the Iron Age started, and then whatever. Human beings are not like that. Like, if you have large numbers of them, they will find ways to improve things in their lives because they can't help themselves, not because they want it or want to. It's just it's we're genetically designed to do these things. So it just doesn't make sense that we are the pentacle of 300,000 years. It's more like we're the pentacle of the last 1,000, 2,000 years, maybe. Actually, I believe that the last big reset was not 12,000 years ago, but more like 6,000 years ago, a bit like more with the Noah Ark. So it was not the pole shift that ruined the last civilization, the last blooming civilization, but it was more an intermediary event. Like something happened, maybe unexpected, maybe it's not this pole shift that is you can know about it, because if you find out how the solar system works, then you you get to know and maybe prepare and survive, at least save some part of your civilization. So yeah, this is how things started for me to look into this, or what kept me motivated to look more into this occult schools, mysteries, deep underground bases, uh, and things that are more fringe, let's say.
Question: if we're all going to die in a massive cataclysm, what is the point of killing off humans with a bioweapon like the COVID, the whole COVID thing? Obviously, the bioweapon's the vaccine, right? But what is the point if everybody's going to die in a pulse shift around 2030, as a lot of guys are saying?
The
Um, what's the point? Why not just let them
the
perish?
vaccine itself is not the deadly weapon.
What do you
Uh,
think is?
the vaccine is the technology that allows humans to couple with cybernetics.
Okay.
Once humans are coupled to the cybernetics and the IE can attest who is worthy of living, like this guy has this IQ and does this kind of things, this guy has this physiology, this guy is more prone to do this guy is prone to rebel, then the mass die off will start. Right now, it's just side effects that are killing people. Like some people, physiology is not well suited to this new machinery. The
Right.
machinery itself is not yet perfected. It was enough perfected to be allowed to test it in mass scale, but it's not yet like a 100-year-old technology that you know the ins and outs. So when they will finish to spread this nanotech in everyone, and they will be able to uh, like note everybody, enroll, database everyone, right? Everyone genetics, everyone whatever physiology, then they will kill. They will uh, push the kill switch.
Gotcha. Did you get the vaccine? Just
No,
curious.
no,
No.
no, no. I
What was it? Was it mandated in your country,
Yeah,
or was
yeah,
so pretty much like everywhere else? It happened in
yeah.
Romania.
But
Was it voluntarily mandated?
you know,
Because there's a lot
at
of people
at
talking
first
about.
it's voluntary because
Okay,
they don't want to scare people. They want to. They don't want to appear tyrannical at first, so they know that a percentage of people will.
we're your friends. Come on in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
they're nice. They're nice because the people are scared and they have no other solution, right? Because they've shut down the discourse. So they didn't want it to know that there are ways to counteract the effect of the poison that they spread and the effects of their nanotech.
Hmm. Right.
So they play nice, but after the nice round started, they started with pressures like everywhere else. Although in Romania and Bulgaria, there was a much lower percentage of people that bought into it because
Mm.
for many of us, the communist experience, it's
It's still
not
fresh in your
fresh,
mind,
not
in your memory.
fresh because there's been like 20 something years, but
Decades. Yeah.
it's still there.
Right.
It's part of us still. So
The
they were
Romanian people, if I understand right, they are allowed to own firearms. Is that correct?
no, no.
No. Okay.
Actually, we produce like this AK type
Uh
that is
huh.
pretty well regarded in US.
Hmm.
But if I want to, I have to watch YouTube if I want to know things about that weapon. There are some ways to get guns here if you apply for hunting permits and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Right.
But it's not that easy as is in US, not even close.
Gotcha. So the effects of communism with something like the right to bear arms, which actually is a universal right. It's not a right of Americans. It's a
Yeah,
right of humanity. But so it's, I'm sure that's been tailored down due to that influence. How would you say, and we talked about this briefly prior, but the Catholic Church and its influence, what was it like prior to the World War II and then after? How did your
the
religious institutions change?
the Catholic Church is not so well spread in Romania and Bulgaria because we were more on the eastern side of things, like Eastern Orthodoxy. Um, but they've kept so after World War I, after World War II, actually, the communists came. They killed the priests, many of them, like those that they thought they would oppose in any shape or form. They just killed them at face value. The others that thought that they might not be such a problem, they imprisoned and tortured them to figure it out how to mind control people, like if they can how they can convince someone by using torture or other means to change their core values. Those that refuse, they've been tortured actually decades. I mean,
Mm,
these people are sick. It's not like if you torture someone for like a year or two and they just won't drop it. I mean, just kill him or something. Like you're right, because it's you can't deal. I mean, there's this typology of people that are zealots or fanatics, and that's how they are because they humanity needs all kinds of typologies, right? To to progress. It's not one type of individual that will do everything.
hmm.
So at different times, different types of people are required.
Right.
So they're very brutal, and we're talking about the same group, right? The Bolsheviks, because
Yeah, it's there's a worldwide movement, and it's also filled with psychopaths. You know, there's no doubt if you're a follower of, say, a podcast like Unslave, where they deal with the psychological nature of the tyrant. You know, when you begin to understand what motivates these people from a psychological level, how it's rooted in many different things. Actually, it could be childhood, it could be experiences, traumas, things like that. There's a lot of focus on trauma, especially in these tyrannical types, and it could be through the elite families that impose the trauma on the children at a very young age to induce a certain behavior toward that kind of upholding of their tradition of, you know, whatever it is, inbreeding and other factors that cause this. But what do you think when say somebody will say evil always sows the seeds of its own destruction? How do you look at a saying like that? And do you think these tyrants can either be overthrown? Because historically, there's really no tyrannical dictatorship that has ever lasted more than a certain period of time. And eventually, it's overthrown. It collapses.
Only
Something
because
happens
of
to it.
hunger. Only because of hunger. It's
So you
always.
think when they starve people that that's the condition, but if people can grow their way out of it, do you think that that's a way they can escape it? If they become self-sufficient, or do you think it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the only way actually to become self-sufficient. Because if you're not self-sufficient, you cannot be independent. If you're not independent, you're dependent, and when you're dependent, you compromise. And unfortunately, not all people in humanity have the not the moral compass, because that's something that grows, that's educated, but the strength to resist compromising with evil. And compromising with evil is very dangerous because you say, "Oh, I'm gonna get something out of
Mhm.
it," but the way God structured this universe, you will not escape without paying absolutely every single what you've done, good or bad, or
Yeah,
it's all
I couldn't
gonna.
agree more. Couldn't agree more with that.
And plus, when you cooperate with evil, and let's say you win and evil wins as well, well, evil's only objective is to enslave you. So
Hmm.
you're just helping him to enslave you step by step.
Right.
So self-sufficiency is the way, but to achieve that is very difficult because you need resources, so you need land, space, right? Which
Hmm.
is pretty much taken away by this idea of government of this is our and this is. Um, People don't know how to commune. Actually, that's a big problem. The church kind of tried to teach people how to commune, but then the church got infiltrated and used to actually destroy the cults that were trying to teach people how to commune.
Hmm.
Um,
So
it's
what's the difference between a commune and communism?
well, communism is something that you're forced into.
Hmm. I've heard
Right?
terrible things about communes. People say they. I've known people that have lived in them, and they say that after, especially one lady, um, I won't mention her name, but she's a darling of a woman that I got to know as a friend through the university. But she had said she moved onto a commune with 32 other people, and that within a few months, her and one other guy were doing all the work, and everybody else was laying around getting stoned and drunk all day. And it eventually caused the collapse of the commune. So in the United States, and this was in the United States, in Nevada in particular. But what's interesting is they tried this in Jamestown when the United States, was being colonized, you could say, and more and more whites were coming here. But they tried this communal aspect, and they found that the city was basically falling into chaos because, again, everybody doing all the hard work had to equally share the profits with people that didn't do anything. So they went back to let men make their own money. This is the really the beginning of, let's say, fair capitalism, if you will, if that's the right term I'm using. But where men can, true free market capitalism, you are entitled to the gain of that which you produce, and that saved this early Jamestown settlement from collapse. But it was literally collapsing until they let every man go back to producing. And then that incentivized other men who looked at their neighbors going, wow, he's doing really good. His family, he's buying tools and getting things. And I should work harder because then I could have what he has. And that's how it happened. But so I'm not sure about the whole commune idea. At the very root of the word is communist. It's commune, communist. But then you have community, right? But a community of individuals versus a commune is a different concept in America, where individuality is championed over the greater good of a group. It's the individual versus the group, and it's really, as we talked about in the last chat we had, the group is the most dangerous thing, the crowd, according to like a Gustav Le Bon or Carl Jung, or even a Freud has touched on this about crowd consciousness being extremely destructive. And that's what Bolshevism really is. It's a collection of people that are discontented with the world, and that's how they can arrive at a concept like we should take all that man's stuff because he doesn't deserve it, and we'll spread it out amongst the rest of us. So the very nature of communism itself is to basically capitalize on other people's production, which is what an Ayn Rand wrote about with Atlas Shrugged, that, when governments become that way, perhaps it's best just to walk away and start something new. What are your thoughts?
Well, a commune is a place. I was referring more like communion. And if you if you entangle your soul with parasites, that's what it will happen to you, right? So you're responsible to choose who you commune with, who you entangle your soul, your life with, right? You can't expect parasites not to be parasites. If you commune with freely with on your own accord with people that wants to build megalithic structures, you will get there. If you commune with people that have no idea what they want from life, you, it will crash, right? Because they don't have a purpose. They don't have a purpose for communion. They have a purpose in survival, but once survival is met, nothing else matters. They going to sit, drink, and smoke and whatever.
Right. What is the
So
state of
it's
Romania in terms of, like, how much is the individual respected, or is it more of a group mindedness? Is it capitalism, or is it more of a communistic system?
it's a very strange place because there's not. We've always been at the crossroads of empires, literally. So there's not one genome like it's like like more like America. Then there's been all kinds of people coming from all over the world. So there's been all kinds of people that came into these lands from the big empires, the Ottomans, the Western empires, and the Slavic empires, and even further down towards this. So there is not, because it's not the same genome and it's so diverse. There is not a very uh, there is not one. Actually, I want to say that society here is very split. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Um,
Would you say
Until
it's
what?
more capitalistic? I mean, do people
Uh,
own their own businesses, or is it more government state run?
yeah, it's a mix because the communists took everything and centralized
Wow.
everything. After it fell off, the vipers that were in power tried to take advantage for themselves, and they've pretty much sold Romania for trinkets.
Mm.
Like it's one of the richest places in the world, literally, like in amount of genetics, minerals, clean water, like, and it's smaller than Texas, but it's way more abundant in anything you want. Like the mountains here actually have rich deposits of gold, silver, uranium,
Mm.
and all the stuff you want for a modern civilization. And they've sold the industrial base, which was at at the 90s level. It was very competitive on the international market, but it was not a free market. So we, you know, those guys are with those guys, those guys were with those guys, but people, the party found some trading partners. They did some good trades, some bad trades, but we had a strong industrial base. That's all gone now. Like literally, my grandma, like uh, worked a few kilometers down the street, and it was one of the biggest plants in the world.
Mm,
At the end, at in early 90s, they managed actually to build nuclear reactors, which is, I mean, we know, you and I know that there's turbines, right? There's not necessarily something very high tech about them, but they were huge. Like it took them like a week to transport them 200 kilometers.
hmm.
They had like hundreds of tons, right? So they shut down everything because the Western uh, industries and the Eastern industries, they didn't want any competitors, and the politicians here, they always, like we all know, we are taught in history about the past, but they cannot tell us about the present. That, but it's the same situation. They always come with the support from the empires, either the Eastern empires or the Western empires, and they serve the empires, not us. We're just their puppets,
Yeah,
workers, bees, and stuff.
right.
So it's a blend of the old communist fashions and with the new UE, UE communism and some from wannabe capitalists. You're allowed to have things now. In the past, you would not be allowed to have even more than a car. Now you can have as many cars,
Mm.
whatever properties you want, as long as you pay taxes, of course.
Would you say it's influenced by what people have viewed with the American lifestyle?
Dude, you have no idea. Like, if America would have kept itself on the more standard of the 90s and 2000, in 20, like 20, 50 years, they would have took the world only by cultural revolution. Like, if you place it as civilizations like Sid Meier's civilization, one of the potential conditions for victory in that game is cultural, cultural victory. Like you would have nailed the entire world, but well,
Well, it's interesting because if you look at history prior to World War One, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, there were actually advocates for a tri-union of countries, and I believe it was the United States, Russia, and forgive me for not remembering, but they were actually in negotiations to form like a trilateral union, so to speak, which would have been hugely beneficial to all of humanity in the sense that the freedom promoted in that movement. You know, back when you could look at this incredible architecture that has more or less disappeared for the most part, though it is apparent in some places that it's making a return. We laugh about the Tatarian thing, but you know, a lot of it, in my opinion, it's the work of men, and the men can have those divine qualities. But had that union been allowed to continue and not been overthrown by this, you know, the funding of basically hitmen and spies to go in and assassinate families and things like that, it could have been a much different world. But I do notice in the maps that you're right along the border of Ukraine. How has the war affected Romania, and are you guys pretty secure with your border?
nah. So let me go a bit to the past. In the past, Romanian countries, because they were considered free, uh, autonomous states, like they were vassals to the each each territory was vassal to another empire, right? Um, they had to pay tribute not only in gold but in children as well. People do not
Hmm.
realize that, but they had to send thousands and thousands and thousands of children, which they were brainwashed by. They had techniques based on trauma. They would drown the children or like waterboarding them, or had their heads put in kind of some planks. Crazy shit, right?
Hmm.
Because they wanted to instill amnesia, break the psychic and instill amnesia, so they could teach them to be a good soldier and send them back to kill their parents and steal their lands for the emperor.
Hmm.
So nowadays this happens as well, but it's covert. So our borders are not secure because like there's two militaries on both sides that they don't care about us. In World War I, World War II, we got stunned by all the empires that were fighting, right? And we're like every time these guys are here, yeah, we're with them. We're gonna go at war with them. Then they're pushing back. Okay, we're changing sides. We go with with the other guys. But it's mostly because there's no real choice. I mean, if you say no, you get squashed with a bomb, with a tank, with a knife, a blade.
Hmm.
So there is not much of a choice here. It's very
Gotcha.
difficult.
Well, it leads me to one of for the last section here. We're about a three-quarters of the way through. I like to keep these at about an hour, but I do want to ask you, what are you doing to prepare for the eventual certain defeat and demise of the human race?
Oh, I'm not like I'm not in a position to do that. Plus, when I had the chance, I gave the chances I had to be able to stay with my grandma, which has Alzheimer. So if
I've got to commend you for that, by the way.
thank you,
Good job
uh,
on you.
like if I could prepare myself, or if I would advise someone that wants to prepare themselves, find uh, a high place that has not as much soft land, like earth, soft earth, but more like a rocky surface,
Hmm.
uh, and learn to grow mushrooms among other stuff because you cannot rely on the sun to be there all the time. Although the last 300 years have been quiet and pretty decent weather, we know uh, that's not something that happens all the time. And mushrooms don't need that much sunlight and don't need as much heat, and they're very nutritious. And once you learn, they're quite easy to build. And if I would tell you that there's an alchemical process that you can uh, do that allows you to turn wood uh, into food, you say I'm crazy, but the secret key is mushrooms. So all the wood that might die from a disaster or old furniture, books, or anything of this nature can be converted into food in a matter of a few months without any headache. Uh, and the other stuff, like get some basic self emergency medical training, maybe little stuff like that.
Hmm.
But there's not that much that someone can do beyond these things. It will be also a matter of luck and I don't know. Okay, so yeah, this is a small
Yeah,
complex.
these are
Oh,
some
wow.
of your specimens, and they're
Yeah,
edibles, right? They're not magic
yeah, yeah.
mushrooms, folks.
No,
It's
no,
not
no, no.
psilocybin. It's food.
Yeah, it's food. And yeah, I grew this indoors.
Hmm.
These are grew on straws.
Straw and
Uh,
sawdust.
yeah, straw. The other ones were sawdust. So basically, any wood material, cellulose, either from trees or from straws or anything like this. There are actually mushrooms that can convert leaves of the trees once
Hmm.
they dry. Uh, so anything like this can become. I mean, Bucharest uh, it's pretty packed with vegetation compared with other cities. If they would collect in the autumn all the leaves that are falling from the trees in this city and they would convert them into food, but probably no one would have to pay for food. Like this is this is the power of mushrooms, but
Right.
obviously no one is going to do that because we are not ready to commune. We want to live in a commune where every someone else does the work and get the benefits, but we are not willing to commune, not yet, on
Right.
the large scale.
That's why I mentioned earlier about the, community of individuals versus a commune. I agree with you fully there. But one thing in America, if you'll notice, is the huge popularity of homesteading. Huge, huge 5,000% interest and increase in homesteading over just the past 2 decades, especially since since the whole COVID thing. I mean, there have been, we probably don't have any homes for rent, very few, or for sale in the rural area in which I live because so many people have moved out of blue cities, for because of politics. Really, people
Yeah,
are they're fleeing these communist strongholds, you could say. And in America, they're not really yet strongholds. There's still the potential that it can go either way, but it's quickly losing to this, unfortunately, due to the sheer numbers of 10 to 12,000 illegals crossing the border every day. Your border in Romania is probably stronger than the United States border is, but it's certainly making things harder.
oh, don't worry, because it doesn't matter because we have a strong border. They go into Italy and Spain, and then they send them here by train. So
Right, right. They're bringing
yeah,
them in on planes and
yeah.
buses. I mean, it's like, so with this in mind, I know that, again, we're rounding out on time, and I do want to show you too some of the mushrooms I grew, but I just have to ask another question here because let me get to that point where. So what is it that with an outlook like, and as you mentioned that we're doomed basically, how do you find? I mean, what do you think of hope? Do you have any, or do you? Is it over for humanity, or is there a unless we do this option?
Uh, to me, it's very painful because I know that there are alternatives, uh, both spiritual and technological, that could get us out of this mess. But until the crazy people won't make something crazy to be able to build the temple, uh, or you Americans find a way to throw them out, like we tried in the past. Although next day the Chinese will be breathing in your back as a warning, because that's how they do it. Uh, we won't have peace. I mean, there's not a chance in the world. I mean, people now they're waking up to the political agendas and stuff like that, but they don't realize that these people are hell bent on making possible to build that temple. They will do everything. They've destroyed the towers, right? Your 9/11. which is the course to make a scenario possible for them to be able to achieve that. It is a religious war, and it's been a religious war for thousands and thousands of years. It's not something that just started in 49 when they landed on the boats there. It's
Hmm.
something that started, it's longer than Egypt. It's probably like, from my understanding, like the Noah story, it's like this first appearance, first rebuild of civilization about the the collapse of the Atlantis, which is probably Antarctica. So people lost their way after the first fall. They managed to rebuild civilization. They end up doing what we're doing now, like nobody knows, even if they are like women or men. Like, it's very strange,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in the past, people knew that they're gay or they're not gay, but
Yeah.
nowadays they don't even know basic stuff. So people went really crazy back then, and everything went to shit. It, I'm not sure if Noah's Ark is much about a flood of water than a flood of emotion, like negative emotion that took over the
Hmm.
world and they self-destructed.
That's
And
interesting.
they tried. They obviously probably have genetic technologies, and they experimented with that because they tell us like Noah was perfect in his generations. Like he was not the perfect dude, definitely not. Man, maybe the only way he was perfect in his generations or lineage is because he was not altered genetically. And after that, whoever tried to rebuild civilization, they used some of the knowledge that was preserved in Egypt, obviously, because probably the last uh, pole shift civilization managed to leave something for the next cycle, like their knowledge, their most precious knowledge, the knowledge that actually matters. They left it in stones to be found and used for generations to come. And these people that I we keep talking about, they end up in Egypt. They subvert everything after Noah. Uh, they steal the technologies from there, the knowledge. They make up their own religion and try to impose it on people there. People there rebel and they kick them out, and then they say, "Oh, they enslaved us." Oh, such a bad people. They
Hmm.
they go out, they make their own religion, and they try to make this church racketeering that's been going on for ages in modern world. So
So another question: Do you think these people can be defeated? Do you think these world government elites can be defeated?
yes,
What is the path
yes,
to victory, in your
but
opinion?
immediately, I don't think there's immediately there needs to be a change into the core of humanity, and it's also about IQ. Like our physiology must improve, so people are not necessarily more individualistic, but they're not so prone to deception. So the first condition to defeat them is to have a strong mind so you can keep it your own, which is something very difficult to do. So that's why there are so few people that actually manage to do this. Militarily, they were never strong. It's isn't their motto like by deception we will prevail,
Hmm.
right? If you know what I'm talking about.
Getting other people to do your dirty work. That's their
Yeah,
mastery, is
yeah,
getting people to listen and obey them.
and with the knowledge that they've got from Egypt, they managed to build a religion that has uh, very fundamental truths in it. And when they get someone from the Christianity side and expose them to some of those truths and reveal them things that the Christian Bible writers, they kind of made a mess out of it, and they realize, oh, wait a bit, I've been lied to. Oh, so these guys must know what they know, must be true. Oh, it's okay to abuse barely born babies. Oh, let's do this, let's do this. And it's
Right.
like a mind virus. It's
Mhm.
they managed to build a very solid uh, cult philosophy
Mhm.
with powerful rituals that uh, they grab the weak minds, not even the strong minds. They just grab them and they manage to turn them into a vehicle towards enslaving and destroying humanity, which is probably an anti-human agenda because there is probably some not humans involved in this story as well, which would be the story uh, of the dumps, the tunnels, the caves underneath the inner earth. Why everybody's trying to go there right now? Why everybody's digging, and the the story of the calendar, and of how things actually work in the solar system, and how actually planet Earth moves around the sun and its cycles.
Right. So you think they're doing these underground bases to preserve themselves and basically the rest of humanity be damned?
Yeah, yeah. They
No.
it's the ultimate supremacist ideology. First, they instilled in you that you're the chosen one, right? So the on and it's not that you're the chosen one, but you're the only one chosen, right? So you're extra special, and then they tell you that everything that's here it's yours only if you're smart enough to take it, and that's how God wanted to be things, and you should fight to the death to make this happen because it is your birthright, right?
Mhm.
And all this kind of silly nonsense. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place because there's so much to this story. Like,
Yeah, we couldn't possibly cover it all in an hour
yeah,
here, but
yeah.
um, yeah, I do want to ask you, as a black pillar, what if any meaning do you have in life? How do you find meaning? You know, the Viktor Frankl, the will to meaning. Is there a logotherapy that you use to find meaning, or how do you live a meaningless life? I don't know which question you want to answer, but
I think the second one comes a bit more easier, and but the answer
okay,
is very hard.
right.
How do you live a meaningless life? It's very hard, right? Because I'm a bit more evolved than my survival chakra, right? I'm a bit higher than that. So I want to do something more than survival. I'm actually not interested in survival. It's beyond me. I'm a subject of it. I cannot escape it like anybody else. But it's beyond me in the sense that if there's a piece of bread and I have to share it with someone, I would give it away so that the other person survives, right? So I'm a very selfless individual, but it's very hard for me to navigate this world. And it's not that I'm not capable of ruining people's lives. I'm actually quite good at that. But I try to maintain my dark aspects uh, focused on other things. And since the enemy is so strong, right now, and it's not only my enemy; it's like the humanity's enemy is so strong. Hmm, you can always take it out on him.
Hmm. Interesting. Now, do you have a love interest in your life?
Ah,
Girlfriend, wife?
yeah, no, no, no. It's
Do you think your
I
outlook
had
on the world would change if you did?
I was engaged at one point, but I had to make a choice. Jen. Like mm, my father was very sick. I had my sister coming
Mm,
into the world, and my fiance at that point, she could have, she wanted to stay with me, but it was not a good place for her to stay here, and I was like at the lowest point in my life. I mean, I thought I was at the lowest point of my life, but that came actually much later because after that, things didn't work out that well.
well, you
So,
got to be careful because now that you've done this interview, some lovely young lady might contact you from Romania,
wow,
and
yeah, well,
that
obviously, no,
then
no,
then you're going to become an optimist, bro.
you
And
don't
then
understand.
what? You're going to be a white pillar.
Romanians are not good enough for Romanian women.
Well, Andrew Tate don't have them all. There's
Yeah,
still
well,
some out there, but
exactly. He has many, right? Because, like I've told you, Romanian men are not good enough for Romanian.
well, hey, my great grandfather Gabriel was from Bulgaria, so I share the Bulgarian bloodline.
Yeah.
So
So
just
so
it's a
we're
strong
kind.
people. It's a strong people, and never forget that. But before I let you go, I want to show you the mushroom growing
The
efforts that I
shiitake
did.
farm.
Yeah, the
It's
shiitake
awesome, man.
farm.
It's
So that was
awesome.
the 6, 7 logs. There's one not in the picture, but yeah, this was a pretty awesome little growing operation that I had, and that basically white oak, and you inoculate them with 3/4 inch drill, hammer in the insert plugs, and then you cover them with beeswax, and then you soak the logs for 48 hours. And I stood mine up in this area here and buried them in sand. So I had a bag of sand that I dug a hole with a post hole digger and then stood all these up, and they produced wonderfully. Pretty much after every thunderstorm or rainstorm, I would get these massive flushes. And so I share your love of mushrooms, brother. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, mushrooms are a perfect example of an organism that manages to commune because people that don't, they're not in the mushrooms, they do not know that mushrooms are actually a colony of organisms. It's not one organism that work together to actually make the fruit which we call mushroom. So
Right.
there's all these individual cells that gave themselves to this higher purpose and
And
achieve.
much room. There is much room,
Yeah,
right? But yeah, the only thing that survives in space, according to some scientists, are spores,
yeah, but spore
fungi
needs
spores.
life. That don't need spores need life to propagate. So okay, they go to space and they land on Mars, but there's no wood. There's nothing to eat there, right? Because life needs life to to keep going. You can't
Right.
just eat dirt and go, or maybe you can. I don't know.
Right. I've seen dogs do it. But all right, Edward. Before we go, I do want to share your website here. So while I share this, why don't you explain a little bit about what it is? I know
Okay.
there's a little bit of technical difficulty, but
Yeah, right now
you're working on it. But it is
something
a pretty
cries.
cool little thing. It's an
It
AI
was.
generator for you
Yeah.
can ask it
It's
questions and such. So
it's a chat interface that
chat
allows you to,
interface.
yeah, it allows you to talk with ChatGPT, but it allows you to talk to Chat GPT through this character that you can choose and customize with your own information, and it moves, it dances, it does flips on the screen and stuff like that. It's a bit slow right now because I'm still trying to figure out how to make it work really well. But people can sign up and get a free account, test, set up an avatar, and use it or on their own websites with just a few clicks. I tried to make a very easy user experience for anyone that's interested into having a character, talking character on their website.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, brother. And I'm sure they can contact you either through your, again, I'll throw up your, excuse me, your Telegram
Yeah,
channel. They can reach you
so
through there or through your website. So,
it's on the Blue Band. Yeah, I post their stuff that I found interesting on the subject of the pole shifts, the current World War III that I believe started on 9/11, and we're just in the middle of it right now. Um, and subjects like this,
all right.
it's not it's yeah, it's very black pilled the stuff that I post there.
I got last question. How long until we all die? What's the final
Uh,
year for humanity? The big year where all the shit hits the fan.
I don't know what the year is, but it's actually I think there's a huge chance this century the flip of the earth might happen. Maybe not, hopefully, but I don't know when. And my concern is not that this is happening, is that normal people have absolutely no idea about it. They are going to find out some time, but not much uh, before it happens, and everything will go. Everybody will go insane, like
Hmm.
the way, the kinds of which we never seen. And what I really find worse is
We're
that
already
they,
seeing it a little bit, you could say. It's sort
yeah,
of the mass
I
psychosis
I
is
think
setting
this is
in.
just the foreshadowing
Yeah.
of
Carl
what's to
Jung
come.
said at the change of an age, he was very worried about it. He said people will suddenly all buy into utopian ideas. They will buy into the most insane rhetoric and behaviors and things like that. And there's no denying that we are indeed seeing that unfold on the world stage. So hopefully there'll be guys that survive like you who can teach people how to grow mushrooms. You know,
I'm
you
I
could you
won't.
could start a
I
growing
won't.
operation. That would be a pretty positive
I
thing.
won't
You
do.
know.
I'm not in a position to survive, honestly, and it doesn't bother me as much as would bother anybody else because I know the this death is not a permanent, so it's not permanent, and to me, actually, this is a problem because I'm actually striving more towards what the real death, what people think death is like,
That's
and
pretty
it's
optimistic point of view. That's pretty optimistic, knowing there's no death.
yeah, but living in constant pain and torture and being in hell all the time is not the way that anybody wants to live, really.
Well,
So
you're doing good work, brother. You're doing good for your family. You know, a lot of people just toss their parents and grandparents into nursing homes, but so I do commend you on that and stay as positive as you can, you know, would be my message and
thank
keep
you.
carrying on. Edward, it's been a really excellent podcast. I thank you for coming on.
Thank you
And
as well for having me. Maybe next time we'll talk about free energy.
yeah, that'd be cool. And yeah, we do need to connect and talk about Joe Booker sometime and some other things. So I know you share an interest in that as well as I do. So it's great to have you on, and we'll have to do
Thank you
this
for
again down the
having me.
road. All
Bye.
right, buddy.
Have a nice day.
Take care. Talk to you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it. Again, if you want to buy me a beer, this is the QR code. I'm doing this. All this stuff that I've done is given freely. Again, the universe has provided me with some really great financial security, so I don't have to worry about it. But it's my way of giving back, and I love doing this stuff. So hopefully, you guys get something out of Edward's, you know, points of view, and as well as the other guests. You can also check out my main tech podcast, which is all up on Rumble. It's rumble.com/Matt Presti, and then Rockfin, ROKFIN.com/Matt Presti. Visit mattpresti.com for more. And as always, I appreciate you guys and have